Okay, from Handelsblatt to NBC, the world's longest-running television news organization. And we can now hear something about how the oldest video news brand in the world is transitioning into the future. So a story about the same path, different medium. So please welcome to take us on that journey, the VP for Product of NBC Digital News in the USA, Moritz Gimbel. Moritz.
Hi. Clicker. Here we go. First of all, before I start, just want to say, watching Frank speak and that slide about trust in the media being between 68% and 84%, I think, you guys have it very good in Germany. I think in the US, the numbers are about half that. So, just keep that in mind. Let's see if this works. There we go. That's me. I'm Moritz. I oversee digital product at NBC News. Product means design and engineering for everything we do digitally. So that's websites, apps, voice, bots, you name it. So I'm responsible for running the teams that make the content that our editorial teams create shine on our owned and operated platforms. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how we transition. So today I'm going to show you who we are. Just very quickly, NBC News. I'm actually from Germany. I'm super proud to speak here because I'm from Berlin originally. Lived in London and New York for since '99. But I didn't know much about NBC, and I don't know how much you know, so I'm going to show you a little bit about that. Everyone wants to talk about video, so I'm going to show you some very basic things around video. Some surprises we've learned about making apps, how to make notifications better, and everyone's excited about bots, so I figured I have to say something about those as well. All right, this is us. NBC is America's most watched news organization and also the longest running for 70 years. We've made the most popular morning and evening newscasts, and we also have a cable channel, MSNBC. And those three brands are the news group. Hundreds of millions of revenue for the broadcast part. Digital is much smaller, but the audience numbers are quite significant already as well. So on average, we have about 80 million monthly unique visitors. So that's a good start. But everything's under construction. The entire news group is redesigning every page, every pixel, every app. So today I'm going to give you a tiny preview. I started this journey 9 months ago, spent about 6 months rebuilding teams, hiring, changing process. So there's not much to show yet, but I was asked to share with you some ideas and some learnings. So I'm going to try to do that as much as possible. So why are we doing this? These are our goals and KPIs, how we measure ourselves. The strategy, not surprisingly, is going away from scale, away from page views, towards loyalty and depth. And predominantly, we are a video company, and therefore everything we do starts and ends with video. We want to make great quality video, deliver great user experiences. And in video, scale actually still means something because the revenue is so much higher. Loyalty, you've heard many people speak today from New York Times to Handelsblatt about the importance of retaining your readers and viewers and having them come back. So we work a lot on that. And as they come back, obviously they should consume more content. And that's what we are trying to do, video. So there's so much to say about video. And given my role as overseeing design and technology, I can't speak to editorial, social, off-platform, all those things that matter a great deal. So I'm going to talk about some very basic technical things, which are hugely important to get it right. And they're really hard, and I hope they're interesting. Number one, the hardest thing we've done, I think, in the last 12 to 18 months is switch off autoplay. Autoplay may not be such a big thing in Germany. In the US, it definitely is. All of our broadcast peers autoplay their video. We are the only legacy company that does not autoplay video. Autoplay creates a lift anywhere between 25 and 50%. So switching it off is a very, very dramatic business decision, which we made sometime in October 2015. And since then, we've climbed back up the hard way. So month by month, by doing better content, better headlines, better thumbnails, better targeting of video, we got back to the 100 million streams a month range. There's a little dip around Christmas time that you see, but by and large, we managed to actually grow our video by about 40% year on year, February to February. If you speak to new hires, to engineers, to audience members, this is the most significant thing. They love that we did that. So I encourage everyone to consider, if you're autoplaying on your own platforms, it's very different in a feed context on Facebook, but this is what will allow you to make the right content decisions and to create the right user experiences. Next, if you click to start, the video has to start. This is so fundamental, it seems stupid, but it's really, really hard. Today, 80% of our video starts are in 1 second or less. In order to do that, we had to build our own player. It's based on a native HTML5 player with custom wrappers. We used a vendor player for many years. And to load ads, analytics, viewability tracking, we were firing 17 network calls. Today, we fire 1. It took up to 13 seconds to start a video. Today, most of the video that plays in article pages starts instantly. So again, a big part of this, of course, is also being flash-free, having no ads and no creative that is flash. But this is really, really important. And we've been on this for the last 3-4 months. So the data about how this impacted consumption is not quite out yet. But it's something that we're really, really proud of. And I encourage everyone who, if video is central, have the technology to go with it. Next, loyalty. Everyone bashes apps. I do too. I do think that native mobile apps are a thing of the past, but not always. So about 4 months ago, my team was asked to build a new app for the Today Show, which turned 65 on January 9, I think. And we resisted for many weeks. We were telling everyone in broadcast that they don't know what they're doing, that no one wants apps anymore, and why do you want an app? We did some usability studies and some research. Turns out our users wanted an app, our editorial leadership wanted an app, and so we built an app. And here it is. We made a native mobile iOS app first. Android is coming out soon. And we thought, what can we possibly innovate in a native app? So we came up with a few ideas that I'll explain in more detail, but it was basically take a classic app, redesign it a little bit, make it a bit prettier, and put something new on top. And the new thing that we put on top, we call the digest. You heard people speak about email newsletters and digest apps, and we sort of wanted to do just that, but we had a huge legacy audience that loves the Today Show, that kept coming to the app every day, and we didn't want to disrupt their habit. So one of the lessons I'm trying to tell you about today is don't change everything at once. It's not black or white. You can actually release a feature or release a prototype or release a step towards a new direction. And this is what we tried to do. Introduce a new user experience paradigm and see if it would work and if we could build it out. So this is the digest. It is basically a full screen, mobile native, vertical content unit that you can swipe up. And it's sort of similar from the experience to like a Snapchat story or an Instagram story. And the idea was to connect the TV show to the app in a sort of meaningful way, like a companion, but to not just take TV content, like a video clip, and put it onto the app, or just write up what happened on television, but to really capture a specific moment that happened on the show, or could happen on the show today. This comes out quite early in the morning. And make it into this digestible chunk that then someone would swipe through, a little bit like moments on Instagram. This is based on a lot of the show audience and app users telling us that they really come to the app to discover what they missed on the show or what might happen on the show if they have a big celebrity guest, for example. And so we created this sort of new content type which is produced and curated only for mobile. And to see what happened. And oh my God, it really worked. I was very surprised when we saw this. There's some standard metrics that the app delivered on, like return visits and unique visitors, up 50% and more. Page views almost doubled. Video starts up nearly 30%. But really interesting, the digest start and the digest completion, 80% and 67%. So most people open the digest, and of those people, most of it finish it every morning. So this is really, this was a great success for us. It meant that we will build out that part of the app, and I can see how maybe a year from now, we would retire the classic part of the app and only have a digest app. But the point is we did this gradually. We didn't want to replace the app and we didn't want to lose that old audience, but sort of like take them through a new paradigm. And now that it worked, we're going to introduce new types of advertising, video content. It's very basic today, so if you bother checking it out, don't be surprised. It's a very simple experience and deliberately so. Next idea for loyalty, and this is the other big brand, the NBC News brand has a native app as well. We did something around notifications. So this was launched for the election on October 31st, so 2 weeks before the US election. We wanted to do something that takes into account that people don't open news apps anymore. So if you don't open the app, maybe you can use the app more as a control device for notifications. So we introduced a much more granular way of managing notifications. So you could subscribe to things like politics or breaking news, but even specific stories, like serious children here, or specific candidates on that were in the run-up to the election. And the idea was to give people a very granular way of getting the information that they need. Second, that is only useful if the information is not just a headline, but a little bit more to that. We use Urban Airship as a vendor to deliver our notifications content. And about 6 months ago, they started introducing rich media, which means you can now send images, GIFs, videos, and in a few weeks, we're actually launching live streaming. So if there's a new notification, the president's giving a press conference, you can actually hold onto the notification, and it opens a stream of video without ever opening the app. This is interesting because of this. So we learned that notifications are not about being first or being there just for a second. It turns out that a lot of people let notifications pile up throughout the day. So if you check your phone, if you're over 25 and you don't check your phone every 10 minutes, then probably every 2 or 3 hours you come to a lock screen that has 10, 12 notifications. So being first and just having a headline like everyone else doesn't really help. If you're giving information in the notifications tray without having to open the app, you're actually delivering value. Now, I will say the actual open rates are still pretty small, but we have very good anecdotal feedback from user research that people actually like the fact that they can just preview a notification. They don't have to wait for the page or the app to load. So this is where we saw things like real-time election maps or other data points being consumed in this way. So notifications can work, and I think that rich media notifications are an exciting playground for using a native app in combination with something else. Next, depth. So we think hard not just about taking the broadcast brands to digital, but also playing more to a digital native audience. And of course, like many large publishers, broadcast and print, we think about new digital verticals. So this year, we're launching 3 new digital verticals. They're called Mark, Better, and Think. Mark is excited about the future. It talks about how we will live, what technologies we will use. It's not about gadgets, it's about your life in the future. Second, Better is about self-improvement, being a better person, a better worker, a better lover, a better husband, a better personal finance investor. So it's a new spin around making yourself better. And Think is what it is. It's a new take on an opinion vertical and analysis. So making you think, making you care. And these are digitally native verticals that will basically start on web. We actually did some pop-ups already a couple of months ago. We are redesigning them now to get some good data back on what content people read. And now we're turning them into websites, which are obviously responsive and optimized for mobile and video viewing. And they have a design system that is extendable. So we're not married to these 3 verticals. If 2 of them succeed and 1 fails, then we'll launch another one. We might even launch 3, 6 more. So the idea is we build a toolkit, a design and technology toolkit that we can now take and we can reapply many times. This content is near news, so it's factual, but it's not necessarily the news of the day or even related to people in the news of the day. This is important for a news organization to kind of, be of service in more diverse ways. And obviously, it's also good for advertisers who are often shy to invest in very hard news. So this has been a good success. We had some really good launch partners, Boeing for Mark and Bayer, German company for Better. All of this is on brand, so we're not hiding that this is NBC. We're also doing something interesting on the design front with advertising. So we, like everyone, we want to get away from commoditized display ads. So we're going away from fixed banner and box ads to something that we call responsive ads. The AIB is coming out with a new system called ratio-based advertising. So instead of fixed pixels, we're actually going for 1-to-1, 1-to-2, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 kind of relationships between the sizing. And this allows us to have resizable home pages and mobile pages where the ads can sort of like be in line with the content, and as the page changes, the ad can change with the content. There's also the opportunity to integrate high impact units that are using parallax and other kind of engagement tools to tell the story of a brand. So as you scroll through, these ads are much more engaging, much less obstructive. The interesting thing is you can make this backward compatible. So the zones that you see here, the blue ad zones, they are in traditional places above the nav as a breaker, a bit like the Quartz parallax ad, and what we call the ping pong units that can be on either side of the rail. You can fit traditional AIB units into this if someone doesn't have these new units, but we also found some really good tools to actually create these advertisements in minutes. So we will offer the service of making some of those ads for our clients. Right, those were sort of the big 4 experiments that we've done so far. All of them will be taken into account as we redesign much of the brands that you see out there today. I also want to talk a little bit about voice and bots, something that I'm much more skeptical about for now. I think that they might be an interesting tool for transactional things like commerce. I think for content consumption, I am yet to be convinced. To me, it's always a bit like calling up a restaurant and without having a menu, asking them what's, you're hungry and what's for dinner. So they end up being just like a switch or a search bar. The most popular things on Amazon's Echo are switch on the lights, switch on the radio, basically, right? So is that really interesting for a publisher? So what we're doing right now is we're building a platform to connect a bunch of internal systems to actually be able to run experiments that even allow us to do more interesting things on these platforms. So as inputs, we have a content API where any of our content, video, audio, text can be made available. Parsley is an analytics vendor, much like Chartbeat, so you can use trending data, and Google's natural language processing API will allow you to ask more human questions. So rather than having to respond to prefabricated scripts, many chat apps today are actually written by script writers, so to speak, or have response buttons. Yes, no, I want more, give me something about Trump. If you have NLP, you can actually make that more human. And on the output side, I think the goal is that Google Home, Alexa, Facebook Bot, Kik, you name it, that they all speak the same language. So when you come into contact with one of our bots, you don't have to learn the unique skill. Most of the bots today, they're somewhat unique. And I think that's a big limitation. Slack is super interesting to those who work on internal tools. We already use Slack with this platform to allow journalists to ask analytic questions. So there's nothing more boring than analytics training. So our internal Slack bot can actually answer questions like, how's my story doing? What's the #1 post right now? What's trending? So think about that as well. I think that's actually really exciting to connect bots internally to such a platform. And with that, I am through. I spoke very fast, and we have time for questions if there are interesting ones.
Moritz, thanks for that. If you'll take a couple of questions, we'll just see. Just usual form, you know how this works. Raise a hand and let us know who you are, and we will take your questions. And can I just sort of start the ball rolling with some thoughts about, we heard earlier on about the possible decline of the banner ad. Does it still work? But in your mobile executions, you've still clearly got what you might call a banner ad, an advertising position. Do they still have value in your view? Are they still a tradable commodity?
Yeah, I mean, so the short answer is it's very challenged. The more complex one for us specifically is that we sell advertising across all of our platforms, broadcast and digital, across all of our brands. So when a brand like American Express comes to NBC Universal, they can actually buy audiences across the whole network. So maybe one mobile app or one mobile web page is not very much, but if you can advertise to 24 of brands and to hundreds of millions of people, then I think even that little banner ad still plays a role. And also, don't forget what you saw that looks like a banner ad is actually a flexible unit that can tell a story. As you swipe, it might kind of tell a narrative, for example.
So it can be a lot more content-rich than what we might traditionally think of as a banner. It's not a button, basically.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Makes absolute sense. If we have no more questions, and if one at the back there, let's just take that one quickly.
Josh Rucci from Bloomberg. Great job. Really enjoyed it. NBC does a lot in terms of being a content provider across news, sport, entertainment, history, so forth. Why those three subject areas with mock, better, and I forgot the third one, but curious as to decision making. Think, sorry. Why those three out of all the other choices?
It's a really great question, and I should have said that we actually did some homework on this. So we. The beauty of having, again, a large broadcast brand that is, decades of audience research actually allows us to do quite sophisticated research on that front as well. And we kind of people kept telling us again and again about unrelated things that actually all roll up into these nodes. So one node is what's the future about? What does the future mean for us? It's not gadgets, it's not technology stocks, but what do I need to know to understand the future? The second one, self-improvement, is extremely self-evident from brands like Today. Today really does a lot of service journalism, recipes, cleaning tips, housekeeping tips, etc. But also the occasional personal finance tip and things like that. So we kind of figured users don't think, today I want to learn about personal finance. They want to fix something or improve something or change themselves. And so we just came up with this kind of umbrella of, I want to be better at everything. And Think, to be honest, is a little bit more straightforward. We just wanted a new, fresh take on opinion and analysis journalism, much like Gadfly at Bloomberg, which is a great product, and the New York Times Upshot. So it's a new home for people like, Rachel Maddow, that is not necessarily tied to the show, but can speak more generally to topics. Okay. And what we hope is that these brands earn broadcast reputation over time.
I think we'll have to leave it there, but can I ask you please to thank Moritz? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.